Lindy, I want to go to you about something. First of all, I understand that you were on this DNC Finance Committee phone call earlier, and keep that in mind because I want to play just a quick clip of Jen O'Malley Dillon. We're complaining about the media, how they asked dumb questions. Let's play that real quick.
We would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about like
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand.
So it's this idea, again, the blame game. It's the media that didn't ask the right questions. You were on that call. Was it also these kind of excuses, this kind of shifting blame?
Thank you so much for having me. And absolutely it was. And it's the same MO every single time. Every single time we host one of these calls, and we try to do it on a monthly basis, the comment section is turned off. Everyone is muted except the speaker. So there's no chance for a back and forth. It's all just basically lecturing to us. And they failed to take any accountability for the $1 billion, 1.5 that was raised through the campaign, another $1 billion that was raised through the super PAC. Where did all that money go? And I raised tens of millions of that. And I have a duty of care to my donors, not just my top donors who gave $1 million and more, but to my donors who gave $10 to $25. And that was a huge sacrifice for them. How could the American people possibly trust that the Democratic Party can handle our taxpayer funds properly if they can't even handle campaign funds? And there was no sense of introspection or humility or a sense of responsibility about, oh, yes, we realize that mistakes were made and we're going to do better. No, it was all backslapping and congratulating. I was just like, we were floored. And I was texting with my fellow donors as the call was proceeding, and we just couldn't believe what was happening. She was even talking about our Thanksgiving recipe. And we were just like, oh, my God.
Hold up. This lady blew $1.5 billion and then another $1 billion in PAC money was raised for her? And she's on a call after that failed campaign, disastrous in the words of Bernie Sanders. And she's up here talking about Thanksgiving recipes? You can't make this stuff up. Here's Lindy Lee. Remember her? She raised tens of millions for Kamala Harris as a member of the City Girl President's Campaign Finance Committee. A few weeks ago, her donors started reaching out to her after the election, furious over the results and asking where did all their money go after reports of Kamala and her team blowing a $1 billion bag. Since we found out it was $1.5 billion and ended up owing $20 million. You had people complaining about not getting their last paycheck and vendors even still waiting on their money. Kamala didn't have anything to say to the donors or the staff like Lindy Lee. She couldn't be bothered with them. She ran to Hawaii after she and Biden made the decision to give Zelensky permission to use long-range U.S. missiles on Russia. And just like a true city girl, Kamala went on a luxurious vacation to Hawaii for over a week. This week, she finally came out to address donors and staff looking like somebody's drunk grandma.
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you.
Well, Lindy Lee is saying Kamala spoke to them but didn't take any accountability. The whole team just sat up there congratulating each other for losing, or maybe they congratulated each other on the finesse they pulled off, because a lot of them are walking away as millionaires.
So, Vice President Harris holding a call with her campaign's top donors this afternoon as she faced questions about how the campaign was able to plow through $1 billion and still came up short. Also faces questions about what she might do next, right? Lindy Lee joins us now, senior advisor to the DNC, who served on the Harris National Finance Committee. Welcome back, Lindy. And so you were on this call as a donor of in the Democratic Party. And is it over? What was it like? What can you tell us?
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, she actually held two calls, one for her top donors and one for grassroots. I was speaking and texting with fellow attendees of the call, and we were amazed by how self-congratulatory the tone was. I don't recall, the call was about 20, 30 minutes. I don't recall anyone taking responsibility for the fact that we spent about $2 billion across the super PAC in the campaign and came up so significantly short. We lost 7 swing states.
Self-congratulatory? In what types of things were being said?
They praised Harris as a visionary leader. I believe at one moment during the call, she was talking about her Thanksgiving recipe. And I don't say this with any malice or anything. I'm just merely conveying what happened. I think I was stunned to hear that.
I can't believe that lady was sitting up there talking about Thanksgiving recipes. And I don't know why Kamala is interested in telling anybody how to cook in the first place. If somebody told me they clean collard greens in the bathroom, there's no way I would eat any food from them. Not a piece of nothing. I wouldn't even drink from somebody's house talking about they clean collard greens in the bathtub.
So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub. So I am not playing around.
Nah, I don't want them to tell me nothing about food preparation. Straight up disgusting.
Given just the extent and brutality of the loss and the fact that DNC staffers, at least two thirds have been fired summarily. And a lot of them are at a loss as to what to do. I'm just frankly stunned that there was no sort of postmortem or an analysis of how we can do better, what sort of lessons were learned. It was really just patting each other on the back, congratulating each other on I'm not sure what, and saying we'll see you for Christmas.
You gotta be thinking what I'm thinking. You know what they're all happy about. They're happy about pulling off the biggest scam in political history. No, they didn't win, but that money is still green. Because there's no other reason why they will be acting like this, high-fiving over Kamala's political grave. They're all happy, including Kamala. Yeah, they're like Merry Christmas now.
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, everyone. Christmas is a time of hope and joy.
Kamala didn't want to say it before, but I bet she's all in now. They're about to have a great holiday season with a lot more zeros and commas in the bank.
Wow. So, but anything about what she wants to do next? Is that the point of having calls like this, that she wants donors to stay on her side? You know, we talked earlier about whether she'd run again in 28 or whether she would maybe run for governor of California in 26. What's the thinking in the donor community about either one of those possibilities?
To put it bluntly, they are not pleased at the prospect. I think this is definitely her attempt to stay close to her donors, but it's also the DNC's way of staying close with the donors. And it's just something that their attempt at donor management. I hope you give me credit for being very honest about this, because this is very raw and very real for me. And yeah, a lot of donors are not happy. A number of them are blaming people in Obama world. That's who they helicoptered in after Biden stepped down. A lot of consultants in Obama world came over and took over the campaign apparatus. The same people who were whispering and leaking to the press that Harris should be replaced at the top of the ticket when Biden was running. So you can imagine just the hypocrisy underlying a lot of it.
You know, there was this podcast where some of them talked, I don't know if it was similar, for the first time, about what went wrong and the reflections on it. Jen O'Malley Dillon, who ran the campaign, and others, same people, right? Here's a clip from Jen O'Malley Dillon on what you talked about at the beginning. How they've run through all this money, which has become something you and others have been saying, well, hey, what's going on here? Here's what she said on the podcast about it.
Of course, you know, you can look at, did we get the best deal here? This was quite costly here. It's quite expensive. At the end of the day, though, I think if you look at the spend we had, the majority of the money we spent, it was to reach voters. We are going to be in a good space across the board, across all of our entities, without debt that carries forward.
All right. So what would you say about that? Same type of thing today? And how would you characterize those types of comments in terms of how connected they are to reality in your view?
In my view, it's extremely detached from reality. And of course, they failed to mention that hundreds of millions of dollars went to them and their friends, right, through these consulting firms.
Yeah, the folks on that podcast clip you saw there, they're a part of the group of people that benefited the most off this campaign. Doesn't matter if they got the W or the L. They funneled hundreds of millions of dollars here.
These consultants were the primary beneficiaries of the Harris campaign, not the American people, not the donors, not anybody else. It was the people who, go from one campaign to the next, looking for their next plum gig. And this is extremely honest, but it's true. They fail upwards and they don't learn any lessons, and they can just keep going because there's no accountability.
So what's next? I mean, are you done with this in terms of, like, are you done doing, raising money for Democrats, giving money to Democrats? I know you've been very outspoken, and are other people feeling the same way that in the donor community that, gives money to the Democrats?
I don't know a single person who doesn't feel the same way. That's the extent of the frustration.
Listen, Lindsay Lee is telling it all. The folks at the top over there, they think they're so smart. They're not listening to anybody. The whole party is being ran into the ground by a bunch of elites acting like they represent the middle class when they're ignoring everybody around them with common sense. Literally stealing all the money, becoming rich like the folks they complain about. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Lindsay Lee said Kamala and her top-level management took no accountability whatsoever. The cosplaying scammer city girl president was more interested in talking about Thanksgiving recipes instead of explaining where all the money went. Tell me what you think about this below. Now, these people already blew $1 billion bag, but get this, they're complaining that wasn't enough. Yeah, you have some DNC political ops still begging for more money, talking about they want permanent year-round full-time jobs. Yeah, they want to get paid to attempt to brainwash us year-round. If you want to hear more about that, go ahead and check out the video that's coming up next.